in the BJP over the India-European Union Free Trade Agreement, dubbed as the mother of all deals, hitting back. The Union Minister for Commerce and Industry, Mr. Piyush Goyal, accused the Congress of stalling talks for several years and called the criticism that's now come in from the Congress as sour grapes. He's defended the FTA as strategic and not transactional. Strong words indeed on the part of our Commerce Minister. Let me go across to my colleague Pratibha, who will take us through that response that's come in from Mr. Piyush Goyal. Yes, Pratibha.
So, Siddharth, it started with Jairam Ramesh, who took to social media to criticize this trade deal. He went on to say India and the 27-nation European Union first started negotiations for a free trade agreement in June 2007. 16 rounds of negotiations took place but were suspended in May 2013 because of lack of agreement on many important issues. Talks on an FTA remained suspended till June 2022 when they resumed. And he has spoken about the FTA, saying it's hugely hyped. It's the biggest trade opening India has given to any trading partner, and it is expected to double India's imports from EU. The impact on India's trade deficit will have to be monitored closely. And then he goes on to say that there was failure from the Modi government to secure an exemption for India's aluminium and steel makers from the carbon border adjustment mechanism. It is one of Congress's key concerns regarding the FTA, and he goes on to give the numbers as well. And then he also spoke about the concerns around the EU's strict health and product safety rules, which will continue to be enforced over Indian exports. So he says that is one sticking point. Apart from that, the inclusion of automobiles in the FTA is also a concern, going on to say that previously as well during the negotiations this was a concern that had been highlighted. And he ends by saying the final concern is about India's largest export to the EU, refined fuels. A large portion of this fuel is sourced from Russia, and there needs to be clarity on the future of these. Now, Piyush Goyal, who is a man of the negotiations with the European Union, has now responded, and he has called it a story of sour grapes. He says, and it's a point-by-point rebuttal, Siddharth, he says that it is interesting to see that those who could not take decisions because they had no connect with the people on ground are today making a virtue of not doing anything. Our people have paid immense costs for this lost opportunity. Our country has lost valuable jobs, income and growth. And then he goes on to give a point-by-point rebuttal. He says, first, what puzzles me is that when the whole world is calling it a mother of all deals, my friend thinks it's hugely hyped. It is the combined GDP of $25 trillion, combined global trade of 11 trillion and common market of 2 billion people. Going on to say, how is it a hype? And he has spoken about how it's a win-win deal. Then he comes to the second point where he says, I can say with confidence that the government has taken up the issue of CBAM, which has been questioned by Jairam Ramesh. And he says it has been taken up. We have found creative ways of handling these complex and sensitive subjects. Our partners, we have not taken a stance of my way or the highway. He says it's kind of immature, illogical and rigid position. And then he goes on to say all countries, including India, reserve their right to regulate for health and safety reasons. No one sees them in a trade agreement. They are disciplined in a manner that they do not become unnecessary and unjustified impediment to trade. So he has gone on to say that the concerns by the EU are absolutely valid. And then he says, I hope that my friend can devote more time to understand the auto sector on the issue of automobiles that was raised by Jairam Ramesh. He says this is what we are intending to given a response here. And then on refined fuel as well, he says it is linked to extraneous reasons. Our trade agreement with EU is a long-term strategic engagement, ending by saying, I hope my friend will shed this negative and pessimistic approach where he is unable to see the aspirational people raring to go out and do things.
So very detailed response indeed, like you took us through that, Pratibha, including the contentious issue of the CBAM, or the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, which the EU had actually initiated and has kicked in starting the 1st of January 2026. Let me go across to my colleague Niyamika as well. Niyamika, the war of words has now escalated. A detailed counter view that's been presented by Mr. Piyush Goyal in response to what was a fairly elaborate criticism on the part of Jairam Ramesh of the FTA.
Well, yes, indeed, Siddharth, as the Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has strongly reported the Jairam Ramesh criticism of the India and European Union free trade agreement, as he has basically questioned in this particular tweet the opposition's credibility, and even defending the pact as a landmark and a win-win economic deal that could actually unlock the major growth and the employment opportunities within the country. We have seen that how the Congress Party's General Secretary Mr. Jairam Ramesh has posted a long tweet in which he had called the FTA a huge hyped and even raised the concerns over the trade deficits, as well as the carbon border adjustment mechanisms, automobiles, as well as the intellectual property and refined fuel exports. However, on the other side, Mr. Piyush Goyal has described this criticism by Jairam Ramesh as politically motivated, and even he gone on to say that it is basically disconnected from the economic realities. He has also taken a jibe over this entire tweet of Mr. Jairam Ramesh by calling it a story of sour grapes, because we have seen that how the credit war had also started as the manner in which Jairam Ramesh had stated that this entire agreement was being worked upon in the year of 2007 when UPA was in power. But on the other side, it is Mr. Piyush Goyal who is saying that the way in which it had got taken so much of time, that has basically it is our country which has paid a heavy cost for the suspension of FTA talks between 2013 and 2022.
Right, so that's the war of words. We'll wait and see as to how this now further evolves. A strong response coming in from the Union Minister of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Piyush Goyal. Now, domestic politics in India has only intensified following the signing of this FTA or the conclusion of the negotiations as far as the FTA is concerned, especially after Mr. Piyush Goyal has described the Congress's response as a case of sour grapes. The Congress leader, Pramod Tiwari, has now hit back at the Modi dispensation. He's invoked Donald Trump, and Mr. Tiwari has claimed that the Congress laid the foundation of the deal and warned that the FTA must not harm India's interests.
हो सकता है उनको जो अंगूर मिले हों खट्टे मिले हों, पर 2007 में सबको मालूम यूरोपियन डील हम समझौता कर रहे थे, पर मोदी जी थे, उस समय नहीं हो पाया, मोदी जी आ गए, पर भारत के प्रधानमंत्री बन गए मोदी जी। उन्होंने नारा लगा दिया अगली सरकार ट्रम्प सरकार। उन्होंने इस समझौते को बलाए ताक रख दिया। अब जब वहां से डंडा पड़ रहा है, ट्रम्प साहब ऊपर से नीचे तक आरती उतार रहे हैं इनकी, तो अब फिर इनको याद आया कि तो कांग्रेस की देन है, कांग्रेस ने किया था, अब उसको लागू कर रहे हैं।
Well, let's turn our focus now to an extremely disturbing development.